Creatives still complain that they are very underfunded. They go to BOI, they don't get the loans. You look at commercial banks, the interest is high.
One of the things that I've realized working and being friends with creatives is a lot of what they do it on an individual basis. A creative comes and is like, okay, I want to do something, I need money. All right, and what is his collateral? His collateral is I'll do 5 shows for you. I'll be your brand ambassador. And they bring up all those things that are not substantial. Now the problem is this: I'm not going to give you money just to fund your adventure. Do you understand? Because I don't want to lose money. We know that there's a huge potential in that industry. The problem is they are not structured. See, value is not necessarily monetary. Value is what can you give me that would help me to achieve my objective without going through the pain and the stress. Ask yourself, how many Nigerian fashion brands have branches or outlets beyond where they are producing? Beyond your office environment, you should be relevant outside.
So guys, welcome to another edition of the podcast. Today we're with an interesting guest. And I think for me, I've looked across the banking sector in Nigeria, whether it's from GT to EcoBank and even now BOI. Our guest today has had the privilege of being part of the evolution of this bank. And across those times, he's been culture bridger, just bridging the culture between creatives and corporates. But if you're a corporate person, you've struggled with how to represent yourself as a brand. I think Jide Sipe comes with an idea of what it takes to stand out in a crowded world. How do you define a style that now defines who you are? And it's important. So if you want to learn about personal branding, positioning, being intentional about how you present yourself, also thinking about the state of the creative economy, what creatives will need to do to become more bankable, and also for banks and investors to take a chance on you, everything is going to be in this episode. We want you to follow, share, comment. More importantly, keep an eye on the community we're going to be building. We want to create a community for creators, builders, who want to share notes, learn together, grow together, build together. And I think it's a time for us to build a new civilization, champion a new way of being where we can see humans flourish. Stick around. Jide, you're welcome.
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
I'm glad you're here. So, first question I would like you to answer, you dress so well. Everybody was, and you are a corporate guy.
Yeah.
Don't they worry you? Like, corporate Lagos is supposed to be tight. And how did you win your bosses to convince everybody that there's a new way to be a banker without having to do it looking too serious?
Yeah, I think you also need to bring your personality sometimes when you're working, and people just get with the flow, And then sometimes also what you do is that when you bring your personality into your work environment, and then people start to see it and like it, then they start to create some trends around that. So which is what I've done. I mean, when I was in GT, I was always suit Monday to Friday, but even in my choice of suits, shirts, ties, cufflinks, accessories, it was in a particular style, and as I transition, I bring my personality into where I work, because it just helps, because one, you're relatable, two, beyond your office environment, you should be relevant outside. Do you get? So that just makes me be able to connect with, whether you're creative in the fashion space, creative in whatever space, lifestyle. All right. I also don't want to lose my identity because I'm working in a bank. So
moving to EcoBank and then now with BOI, three banks with different mission, but you've managed to somehow sustain your brand, and somehow you've moved again. Like, it's like they came for you. Yeah. But I remember at the time you moved to EcoBank, it was almost every creative. When I say, want to do something with a bank, so have you spoken to Jide? You guys should talk to him. Like, everybody felt like, talk to him about how you can partner. So you somehow have been able to build this understanding around all the creatives, knowing that we have a man inside. And the banks said, you speak their language.
Yeah.
But in just being there, creatives still complain that they are very underfunded. They go to BOI, they don't get the loans, they speak a lot of grammar, and they tell good stories, but they don't unlock capital. They look at commercial banks, the interest is high, they can't collateralize. But why do you think creatives today and the creative economy is stunted in Africa? We talk about the potential. It's a $3 trillion industry globally. African accounts for less than 4%. But what is really the roadblocks that is stopping the creative entrepreneur or the creative industry from fully coming to potential?
So, working from GT to EcoBank, now Bank of Industry, one of the things that I've realized working and being friends with creatives is a lot of what they do it on an individual basis. A lot of them don't have a structure. A lot of them don't have, very few, I don't want to mention names. So a few have like proper structure. So they have an office address, you can verify that address. They have their books well laid out, so you can check their books, their accounting, their statements and everything. And so they are not funding personal projects. When I was in GT, for instance, to give you an example, a creative comes and is like, okay, I want to do something, I need money. All right. And what is his collateral? His collateral is I'll do 5 shows for you. I'll be your brand ambassador. Do you understand? And they bring up all those things that are not substantial. Now the problem is this: I'm not going to give you money just to fund your adventure. Do you understand? Because I don't want to lose money. You're talking about shareholders' funds and all of that stuff, and customers' money. So creatives need to find a way to structure themselves. You see things like Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, right? And they help people in the manufacturing industry to be able to have a proper structure. You see things like Wasima, Nasima, do you understand? Chambers of Commerce and industry and all that. They need to find a way to create a structure around them. And it starts from 1, 2, 3, coming up and say, you know what, this is how we want to be known, seen, perceived. Right? Because another thing with banks, a lot of banks, is the perception that they have with a lot of creatives.
True.
A creative that will have a studio at his backyard or in his BQ. Do you understand? How does that even show seriousness? Do you get? Or money comes in today, and when I check your books, you've bought a Lamborghini or you've bought something. Do you understand? It's almost like I'm funding your fun lifestyle.
Yes.
Do you get? No, it shouldn't be like that. Create a structure, all right? Even if you're, a musician, an artist, into fashion, all right? Have an address, and even if you don't have an address, make sure that you have your proper records, your taxes being paid. Do you understand? If you have 1 or 2 staff, what's the record of the staff? Do they have do they have a structure where, okay, there's an HR structure, there's this finance structure, and you report those things? Because what I see when I want to give loans to people is I'm looking at your cash flow.
Yes.
Do you understand? What's the money coming in? What are you using it for? What's the profit afterwards? Because if I give you money and in 2 years, I'm not sure I'll be able to collect the money. It becomes a problem for the organization.
Yes, it's not performing loans.
It's not performing. So we're not trying to. We know that there's a huge potential in that industry. The problem is they are not structured. Apart from the fact that they're not structured, a lot of them are still working on an individual basis. Let them collaborate, partner, let them build stronger synergies amongst themselves. Right? So it becomes a proper industry. So it becomes like a telecoms, it becomes like an oil and gas and all that stuff. Do you get? So, and I think they have the potential because Nollywood is doing that. And you see a few players in Nollywood, they're having that structure. Yes. So it's easy to fund projects in movie production, but it's difficult in some others. In fashion, for instance, you can. In IT, you can. Yeah. All right.
But influencers and content creators, it's not always...
It's always difficult.
Yeah, it's very mercurial to put down to data.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Now, one of the things that we're even looking at in BOI is how do you use your IP, all right, as collateral?
Yes.
Do you get? So that, yes, you might not have all of those things, but what collaterals can we have? All right, that we can pick and say, okay, once we have this, we know that one way or the other, the money will come back. So that's why a lot of people are moving to YouTube. A lot of people, so you can actually almost trace and track, all right, the type of income that they'll have.
Good.
So there are some that you can actually create a model around them, all right, based on history, what they've done. Do you understand the amount of work, their past achievements or whatever? They just created something for them that is specifically to them. Yeah, so we're not against creatives. We're just hoping that they can be more.
It's very important because I think that even someone who I've seen a few people who have transitioned from just being a brand into creating a company that can be backed. And I think in business school, they'll tell us all cash is not profit.
Yeah.
And I do have creative friends where if they make 5 million today, oh boy, and they're
hype, exactly.
The logic is if you made 5 million today, that's not your salary.
Yeah.
You should have, the business made 5 million. So you have to say, okay, my salary is 1 million. Take your 1 million, leave the other 4.
That's another thing. How do you separate the money that comes from the business from the money that comes from your personal expense?
Yeah, it's important to separate it because most people don't. They just realize that I'm the brand.
I'm the brand. And then sometimes some people mix it. Do you get? So you say, okay, pay the money to my account. Now you have a manager, just pay the money to my account, talk to my manager. So a few are now creating that structure where there's a company that manages them.
Yes.
So that's how we can fund projects around that. Or you sign up to some people. So I'll give you an example. There's someone that is doing stuff on Prime TV. Okay. Now, because she's signed up with Prime for 3 movies, all right? We know that money is going to come. So it's easy to fund those kind of projects. Do you get? But she also now has a structure, and then she now has, and Prime, they have like all these streaming, like they have like licenses, but they also have like some expectations, the standard and quality of your production. So you know that you're meeting high standards. So people like that, you can actually say, you know what, okay, you've done 1, 2, 3, you already have a contract with this organization, so with Sony, with Prime, with Netflix, all of that stuff. So we know that the money will come one way or the other. Okay. Now, when people say to me, because I was at the program, people will say that, okay, how about grants? The problem with grants is like it's CSR. It's like, how much money can a grant do for a creative?
Yes.
Highest you get maybe like 2 million naira.
Yes. And then grants are actually also mission specific.
Yeah.
So you will not just say, oh, they give mission. So if you're a brand as an influencer, but you're not doing anything for kids, you can't go to a fund that is saying for the Nigerian kids.
Exactly.
I'm a child of God.
Exactly.
So fund me now.
Exactly. They are specific to certain projects. They tie to certain projects. And so if you're not careful, if you are waiting on a grant, you wait for a long time and it might not meet your need. So if you're actually thinking the route of actually like proper funding or getting a loan, all right, just go back, look at your books, look at your structure, do the right thing. Right? It's not as easy as I'm saying it, but at least you know that you are already on track. Do you get? Another thing is, so like what we're doing in Bank of Industry now, when we tell people to fill some forms, and we tell people X, Y, Z, that this is the criteria for accessing the loan, people get tired. I beg. If you want to give me, if you don't want to give me, get out. Do you get? Because we're asking for certain details that you would ordinarily not think of providing. But the problem is this, and I say this all the time. If we ask you your date of birth, collateral, whatever you need to access that loan, and you can't provide it, then you're already telling me that there's the tendency you might not pay me back.
Actually. What I actually tell creatives, I remember at the time there were some companies we went to for financing, and they'll give us all these 20 criteria, and you're like, And then, so it's not to run away. It's to say, okay, in 24 months.
Yeah.
How can I pre-qualify for this? So
Absolutely.
if you know that, okay, at this point in time, there was 1, 2, 3 documents, go get them and work towards them so that when they come back, it's okay, this is progress.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, you're seeing that. Now, I want us to also look into something. In the startup space, there is fintechs and there are the banks.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, the fintechs will say the banks are fighting them through CBN, right? Because somewhere along the line, the fintechs were able to take advantage of some of the loopholes that the banks were not actually feeding. Do you think there is really a battle or a war between the fintechs and the conventional banks, or it's just in the minds of a typical average Nigerian startup?
I think initially, when there was like the boom, there was a fintech boom at some point where, especially when they were taking their staffs. So fintechs were poaching commercial bank staffs. Do you understand? And they were offering them some crazy figures.
From raise, incredible raise.
It was abnormal. You get, like, you're on one level and they give you like double your salary. And you know that you, in a commercial bank, you almost work like 3 or 4 years right before you get there. Why do I want to wait for 3 or 4 years when I can get it now?
Yes.
So there was that competition. All right. There was also the competition of customers, all right, where now you don't need to fill 10 forms to open a bank account when you could do it on your phone. There was that competition. But that was then. I think now that competition has kind of like reduced and there's a balance and there's like more collaboration now. Because if you look at even the fintechs, they need banks for them to succeed and for them to even be relevant. But if you also look at the banks, they need fintechs for them to also succeed. And because most commercial banks can't get to every part of Nigeria.
They don't have the spread.
They don't have the spread. They don't have the infrastructure.
experience
Do you
to
understand?
navigate
They don't
those
even have the
markets.
infrastructure for it because the normal typical bank is already set in a particular way. All right. So a lot of them are deploying POSs just like fintechs. A lot of them are also deploying a lot of like the techniques that fintechs are building. But fintechs you will always need fintechs. One, the fact that you can't reach everyone. Two, there's some conditions that you need, all right, as a commercial bank that most customers will probably not even be able to fulfill.
True.
Three, there's the CBN regulation that wants a lot of unbanked to be banked. So that's why you need the fintechs. So you can't do away with one of the two. Now, if you look at it, for most transactions that you see, it's hard for a fintech to sponsor or to fund a lot of big ticket transactions. So you will see a Dangote and they might, in terms of if you look at their value chain, within the value chain, yes. But when you're talking about the real money to fund like major industries, it's hard for fintechs to be able to power those kind of fundings. Do you understand? So you see where there's the balance. There's the balance where you're looking at for the retail customers and looking at spread where a lot of unbanked are banked. So you capture that target market. But you're also looking at when we're talking about industrial revolution, when you're talking about funding major projects, you need the commercial banks for that. One, they have things like, when it comes to investor relations, when it comes to funding on a major transaction, do you understand? They can get funds from different places. They can even get funds from even the government, right, just to fund certain transactions. So there's a balance. We can't do without each other.
So, interesting. And I think that collaboration is something I'm seeing now with a lot of banks. But you spoke about the unbanked.
Yeah.
That thing I've been hearing it for so long. The unbanked, and it still looks high. I think they said about 65 or 70% of the Nigerian population are largely unbanked.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it's the rural challenge or education, but from a storytelling perspective, you've worked in banks where you guys had to design campaigns. You try to figure out how to capture market, tell stories. How are you seeing that storytelling changing to unlock this unbanked potential that everyone is going for, but few are cracking?
We've made significant progress. I remember when GT was like a proper core corporate bank, moving into retail banking. And then we started creating certain products, GT Create, and going into campuses and, catching people young and all of that stuff. I think it's growing. A lot of banks now have their own fintech subsidiaries and all of that stuff. So it's growing. So you can now see more banks are coming up, more fintechs are coming up. And so we are capturing more of the unbanked population. The problem that we're having in Nigeria is, one, infrastructure. When I talk about infrastructure is, one, telecoms. Because whether you like it or not, for you to even be connected to a fintech, you still need phone, data, and stuff. So there's that in some parts, most parts of Nigeria. Lagos is we are enjoying a lot from Lagos. I mean, I've traveled to some northern states, and you see that a lot of those infrastructures are not even getting to those parts. The road network too is also a challenge. Do you understand? If you want to go and build those infrastructures in those places, it's a challenge traveling to those places, getting to those places. Now, there's also the issue where we have almighty NEPA and all those things. So you see, those things are still, as long as we are not able to make those things readily available, easily accessible, then we're going to continue to have that challenge for a while. But if those things can be fixed, all right, so if I'm an investor and I see an opportunity in a particular market and I feel like, let me move into this market. But getting there is a problem. Security issues are there. I have to pay for NEPA, buy diesel generator, or find an alternative source of power, solar, and all of that stuff. So it's a bit complicated trying to move to certain parts of the country for us to actually capture all of the markets.
It's insecurity issues too.
There's a lot of it. Education is not really it's not really much of the problem as much as the lack of proper or adequate infrastructure. And if that is done, it's easy for us. The truth is, in Lagos, most banks, you see them having 50, 100 branches in Lagos. You go to some states, they have one branch.
Wow.
So tell me, in a particular state where you have one branch in the capital, let's say some will have maybe 4. Let's say you stretch much, you have maybe 10 in a state. How much of that can you capture? And I'll give you another example. You know, if you are driving from Aja to Ekpe, count the number of banks you find there.
Interesting. Actually.
Just count the number of banks you find there. Because it's just that fact that now you see all these things that they're doing, road infrastructure and all that stuff. It helps because now there's easy accessibility.
It's opening up.
Less to worry about in terms of security. Do you understand? Or damage to your infrastructure or all of that stuff. Do you understand? Now you can capture the market. Now people are moving there. Now there's a thriving economy. So you can now say, you know what, I can take advantage of this opportunity. But if those things are not working, then banks are there to make money. Whether you're a bank, whether you're fintech, you're there to make money. You don't want to put your money where there's little potential for you to actually make good income.
Moving from GT to EcoBank and now BOI, are you poached?
I can't answer that.
Okay.
No, but I will say, and this is what I tell a lot of young people.
Yeah.
You have to position yourself to succeed. You also have to position yourself that whatever opportunity might come in the future, I'm ready for it and I'm the right person for it. So right now I can tell you that I get offers, but I'm very careful the type of offers I get.
Yes.
I pick. You get? I don't want to just, you need to be careful. I just don't want to go everywhere. But I'm very careful where I go. Going to EcoBank was very strategic. Extremely strategic. Coming to Bank of Industry, very strategic. I had other offers.
You're getting close to God.
Yeah, well, yeah.
From BOI to Abuja.
I don't know about Abuja for now, but yeah. But it was strategic. GT Bank gave me the opportunity to have like the best foundation I could have gotten in my career ever. Do you get?
And I think you were there when you guys pioneered a lot of movements. I love the food and drinks, the fashion show.
Yeah.
And it was as though you guys moved banking into lifestyle experience.
Yes.
And for the most part, I would give it to GT that they kind of redefined how you sell.
Absolutely.
In such a way that it wasn't about just talking to customer, but creating communities and experiences around that.
Yeah.
But I would also say, if I have to name people in the corporate Lagos who I can tell you their personal brands, you stand in that list.
I think so.
Let's get into your playbook. Yeah. So a lot of people are applying, looking for CVs, getting courses, but there seems to be this playbook where your style. I mean, going to BOI and you've been able to carve a niche where they know they're a creative and iconic person and you want to have your own way. Even in your negotiation, you make space for, say, guys, am I allowed to bring in my creativity here? But just being a personal brand, it looks like companies don't just want to hire staff, they want to hire brands. They want to hire people that they know you're coming with a sense of equity and their brand can be better for it. How can talking to a 25-year-old sitting watching us thinking, how do I build my personal brand? Can you give us an insight into your playbook on how you crafted this iconic persona in the corporate world today that is allowing for you to make a choice? People are looking for jobs, you're choosing where you will go. That is a privilege.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think there was intention behind it.
Absolutely. Okay, I think for me, I'm very conscious about myself. Some people might have a problem with that, but I'm very conscious about myself. I'm conscious about what I wear. I'm conscious about where I go. I'm conscious about the people I interact with. I'm conscious about the things that I post even on social media. All right. So even if you look at my social media, there's a particular style to it. All right. It's more about profession, family, lifestyle. And it's deliberate because that's what you want to project and that's what you want people to see and that's what you want people to that's how you want people to relate with you. So even joining GT, all right, I kind of liked the brand. It looked good. It looked cool. But beyond that, I was like, how can we make this brand look cooler than this? All right? So a lot of people see food and drink and fashion, but there were some other more interesting things that we did that made the brand even look more interesting. So there's Indani.
Oh, yes.
Which redefined how
we was an era of web TV.
Do you understand? An era of web TV.
From skinny girl in transit.
And it was beautiful. Do you understand? So there was Indani. Then there's GT Create. GT Create is even more interesting because when we started GT Create, we wanted to capture young audience, undergraduate people in universities, tertiary institutions. And what did we do? We're like, what's the best way to capture them? A lot of people are giving 5,000, 10,000, a lot of that stuff, raffle draw and all some boring stuff. So we say, what we're going to do? Let's give them Mini Cooper. Do you understand? It just felt different, and it was a convertible Mini Cooper. You just start thinking different. But what GT did was, it gave us the opportunity to express ourselves, our crazy ideas we were able to express. But for me, it was an opportunity for me to also say, who am I, and what do I want to represent, and how do I want to project that within my work environment. So I did that in GT, just doing a lot of cool stuff. So but my idea was, how do I do cool stuff? And how do I make sure that the cool stuff resonates with a larger audience? So we achieved that in GT. And it was time to go to EcoBank. In EcoBank, the thing for me was, they keep saying the Pan-African Bank, the Pan-African Bank. What does it mean? How is that relevant to me or to anyone? How does that even make you stand out as an organization? So it was more of, this is an African organization. How do we begin to create African content? How do we begin to create African engagements where people now begin to see it's now more relevant? It's now connecting the dots. You might not be the best in retail banking or the best in corporate or whatever, but how would the brand be perceived going forward? So we started thinking of local content, and that was what changed EcoBank till today. We did something called photography, art and design. It was more about Nigerian photographers. All right. Then we did Adire, which is about our history, our culture, something that was more about Africa, Nigeria, something that was indigenous. And then we moved to +2, 3, 4 art and the rest of but everything was local content, because now we're telling African stories. We're promoting African brands. We're promoting African SMEs, Nigerian to be specific. All right. And so for me, my lifestyle, and that's when I switched from my proper corporate tie and all of that to, let's tone it down a bit.
Yes.
You get started trying on some trends and outfits, and for me it was just
it was part of the storytelling.
It was part of the storytelling. Celebrate Nigeria, celebrate culture, celebrate what is authentic to us, right? And then I infused it even with the staff. So we'll say, staff, wear this, wear Adire on this.
Mostly on Fridays.
Wear this. Do you get? So we're giving them like dress codes, things to wear. So people started feeling like, this is cool. This is nice. One of the ways that Adire and all of those initiatives became very successful is we used the staff, all right, as the first promoters of this initiative. Because the first day of each of these events would always be on a working day. Do you get? So now if you have about 800 people in the building and you have 800 people posting, all right, and reposting and wearing their Adire outfit or wearing their local outfit or do it just, or in the photography, art and design, they're taking pictures, they're posting the artworks and all that stuff. You've already pushed a trend. Day 2, day 3, day 4 will be successful. Do you get? But for me, it was more of, I like to do cool stuff. So if it's not cool, I don't want to get involved. Now, Bank of Industry is where it's a bit different, because now I'm talking about Nigeria, but now in Nigeria.
Yes.
And that's why a lot of things I do now as a personal brand is, how do we bring the Nigerian story, all right? And how do people see it in their lives? How do people relate with it? So we do something called BOI Impact, right? It's a TV program, but it's on local terrestrial TV. So you are showing real life stuff. We're not trying to make it too polished. Do you get? Because now you're saying, let's be real. Let's connect with people. Do you get? SMEs, small businesses and all of that stuff. So for me, it's just a way to just be very strategic wherever you're going to, and to say, how do I bring myself? How do I look at my environment? How do I become conscious of myself? All right. But how would that consciousness of myself, all right, be brought to where I'm working, so that I can tell them, like, Jide is cool corporate, so that's GT. Jide is cool Pan-African, that's EcoBank. Jide is cool Nigerian, all right, that's BOI. Do you get? So you're telling different stories, different places, but you represent it in different ways. But you don't just say it, because when you say it and you don't represent it or you don't show it, right? Because people see you. So I'm the group head of brand transformation. Now I have to actually show that, all right? Whatever I'm saying people should do, I'm actually at the forefront. Yes. I'm embodying it, I'm showing it, I'm displaying it, I'm showcasing it. All right. So it feels like, let's get this, looks nice. And I feel like I do a lot of cool stuff. I think I wear cool stuff. And now people have recognized. So people are like, you know what? You look good or something. Let me make it for you. So I make it for you, right? When you wear it, I'm sure people will want to wear it. And then that's how we just start to.
You're not an influencer.
I'm not an influencer, I beg. I'm not an influencer, please. But I think what I do is I support a lot of local brands, and it's deliberate as well. Now, especially in BOI, I support a lot of local brands, and I show people that I'm supporting them, and I'm not hiding it. All right. And if anybody comes to meet me today, I'll say, you know what? I work in a government institution. If I'm not supporting local brands, so you see me wearing anything that is foreign or anything. I mean, I'll wear, but I mean, in my post, I won't do that because I'm like, I have to show that I'm supporting Nigerian brands and that Nigerian brands can succeed. All right, simply because they are doing well.
Do you know, I one thing I admire with this lady, Ngozi Okonjo.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to World Bank, everybody's wearing suits.
Absolutely.
You just see one woman and her hair.
Absolutely.
She's so unapologetic about it.
Yeah.
And let's even talk about African culture and the potential of that culture. So in December, we made $71 million in Dirty December.
Yeah.
So we woke up one day, I think they say 41,000 people came to Lagos. The place was blocked, right? But in a sense, that $71 million, it's nobody planned for it. I mean, there were shows and there were Airbnbs, but people came to Lagos. I don't think everybody, they enjoyed Amala or Iwedu. No respect. I mean, the food part was sort of left out. The clothing part was left out. So everybody was more interested in go to the beach, have the concert. How do you think as a culture or as a people, we can truly export this culture? I mean, I've seen what Afrobeat has become. You know, I would always say when we were growing up, it was about Tupac and Biggie, right, and all of those things. And so if you really wanted to globalize, at the time, you have to westernize.
Yeah.
So we had to sound like American rap artists. The tables are turning. Now, if you truly want to even be relevant, you have to partner with an Afrobeat artist.
Yeah.
Look, all the big artists are saying Afrobeat is on their list. Chris Brown did a song and we're thinking, Chris, what's going on? Right? I think Wizkid has done his own collabo. Thames and the rest have done with some of the major international artists. Is the potential of what Afrobeats can be. But I think that with our food and our culture, there is still that. I mean, you're representing fashion, and I'm thinking, what about if we as corporate world can start to identify our fashion as our formal wear?
Yeah.
What about if going to work is not just about wearing suit? Because I consider those things as part of the colonial heritage, the things that we received from our imperial masters. But at the end of the day, if we are coming home to ourselves, this is hot, right? On a good day, Lagos is boiling, and I'm wearing suit. It doesn't look like I'm planned for the day, right? So, but I mean, there are ways you can actually explore African fashion. But what are the things in our culture you think we can focus in to really, really open up this culture, make it as global as the potential has shown?
So I think also we need to also look at local content. All right. And sometimes you might not plan for some things, but when you begin to see the trend, you need to quickly start adjusting, all right, so that you can now flow with the trend. It happened last year, but it didn't start last year. You know, the whole Dirty December.
Actually, thing. It's been 4 years building up.
Yeah, it's been building. In fact, it was building up pre-COVID, and then COVID happened, and then we shut it down. Then after COVID, we went back, and then we just like, but last year was just crazy. It was off the roof because now last year wasn't just about Dirty December. Last year was more in terms of the shortlets and the Airbnbs, you know, and then the amount of money and the hotels being booked because everyone was coming to Lagos. This year might be worse, right? Because
tickets are sold out.
Tickets are sold out because I'm trying to like buy tickets for my family and then I'm having like crazy headache over that. But so the thing is this, people have started planning for this year and then going forward. Now, the reason why I'm going back to local content is that we still have a problem with structure. And I'll tell you why. Talking about, you know, why don't we have something for Amala or have something for like, look, our local food or even our fashion and everything. Ask yourself, how many Nigerian fashion brands have branches or outlets beyond
where people can walk and buy.
Exactly, beyond where they are producing.
True.
How many restaurants? So you go to a restaurant, you like the food, it's great, but they probably don't have up to 4 or 5 in Lagos. Do you get? Now that's a problem because if we're not thinking of scaling, and that scaling should have started from January leading to December. Do you get? So if you're not scaling, if you're not planning to scale, what will happen is this. The person that is doing wedding will call you. The person that is doing end of year party will call you. The person that is doing XYZ will call you. So you are focused on these little things, but you're not focusing on the big market. So you need to find a way to scale that. You know what? I would be able to support this individual request because they are also necessary, but I'm also going to have like an outlet, a structure where I have an outlet in these places where things are happening. Do you get?
True, yeah.
So
you have a going concern. You every day people will eat.
Yeah.
I was told 60% of our income, an average Nigerian spends 60% of their income on food.
Yeah.
That is crazy. 60%
It's
we
crazy.
eat a lot. Clearly.
Yeah, it's crazy. And we are discovering new things. I went to Port Harcourt. I discovered fisherman soup, and I've not stopped thinking about fisherman soup. But you can imagine, there's how many places can I eat fisherman soup in Lagos? There's a problem.
I enjoyed bolly and fish in Port Harcourt.
I enjoyed bolly and fish.
I'm looking for bolly and fish in Lagos.
So you see something that I refine. No, I want to eat it the way it is in Port Harcourt. So you can take advantage of that opportunity. You know what? Let me scale up and put some things there. Do you understand? Because now another thing is that you don't want people to get to December to start tasting or knowing about your brand, whether it's in fashion or food or any of those things. You need to have started planning it. Another problem with fashion people, right? And because I'm in that scene, is they do a lot of things in October, November.
True.
It's the fashion season. But they're not targeting December. Why? So it's like they go to rest after December because I think
they're just knowing now that why don't I do something that everybody can buy?
Do you get? Let me get just something that everybody can buy. Sadly, the whole landmark thing was painful in terms of them clearing a lot of the retail stores, but it was beginning to happen. Now we don't have landmark, but where are we planting?
From Muson Center to Terra Culture.
Do you get?
Do you know I tried buying a ticket to see this show that was at Terra Culture. Their cafe.
Yeah.
I thought it was a typical December. So I was like, okay, we'll buy next week. And the next week I went online, there were no tickets.
Yeah, gone.
Yeah, I called the guy that was on the show. He was like, oh yeah, tickets are sold out.
It's crazy.
But Ferdy, we're thinking of opening it for another, they added another week that was not part of the plan. Even the producer was surprised. He added a week, he sold out. I got by the third week. So it's built into the middle of and I got there, the place was packed. I was like, is this theater?
Yeah.
Usually they probably won't run more than 2 or 3 weeks. They ran for 6 weeks. All thanks to December. Yeah. So even Muson, I was like, what show is there? Did he have a lot? And I'm thinking, people need to go somewhere. So this year, I'm hoping that we could have a calendar where we can actually see the shows. We could really go to see theater, even music.
Yeah.
Alternative music artists, they were absent in December. So yes, Flight Time did not put you on the bill because they don't think you have that much of a following. Yeah. But you can pull a 1,000 audience somewhere at Murokola Park. You understand? So I'm hoping that this dirty December will unlock. But let's talk about your work-life balance. As a family man, have you found the balance? Everyone is talking about work-life balance, where you've been able to say, okay, here is my own art of balancing work and family.
I think, honestly, BOI has given me like the best opportunity to do that. And that's why I said that it's strategic for me going to BOI. So I closed by 4. And I still find it very difficult closing by 4. All right. But I have also realized that you can actually finish your work between 8 to 4.
True.
It just depends on how disciplined you are. All right. But after 4, it also gives you the opportunity to do a lot of other things. You can check on your family. Unfortunately for me, or fortunately, they are in the UK. So there's a way I can call them on video and everything. I make sure that I go as often as I can, all right, to see them. But we're always on the phone every day. We talk every day. So there's that part. But there's also the social aspect of things, all right? And for me, I'm sure I try to not be too social, but I try not to be too withdrawn. Because I connect with a lot of people, I'm invited to quite a number of things, shows, events, and all of that stuff. I choose the ones I want to go to so that I don't spread myself thin. But also, I also understand the need to connect with people. So it gives me the opportunity to, within the time that I have, weekends, after work and stuff. Like today now, I can come here for this because I have that.
The bandwidth. It would have been harder when
it would have been harder if I was in commercial bank. But even the commercial bank, it was about restructuring my time. Because even when I was in EcoBank, I connected more with creatives. I did more stuff in terms of even social networking in EcoBank than I did in GT.
Interesting, because when you were in GT, we used to consider GT the bank of the creative, although in programs,
yes,
not in funding.
Yeah.
Then when you moved to EcoBank and suddenly we're like, there's an art exhibition. What's happening? They have this new showroom. We went there, EcoBank had transformed an entire floor
Absolutely.
into and we're like, okay, what's going on here? And they say, if you have great ideas, we can explore.
Yes.
So in a lot of ways, I now felt there was a common denominator, someone like you will understand the place of storytelling, using art to connect.
Yeah.
It's really, really helping these people. Now you're talking about local content, and you're even trying to even see that in BOI they embrace more local content, fashion, culture. So, but why do you feel so deeply about these things? There is something in your growing up years that, who was the artist or culture mind that shaped you into this person that sees truly how brands can leverage culture in deepening connection?
I think it's just from my experience working in GT, all right, and the fact that, I was in charge of GT's events for 14 years. So you can imagine, from end of year parties to all of the shows and all of the events and everything, product activations in schools and all of that. So what you're doing is, a lot of times you're talking to artists, vendors, all sorts of people. Then you see the need within that community. That you see, there's a set of people that they are growing, but organizations are not growing with them.
True.
So for me, it was, I started, I was connecting with a lot of them, having meetings with them and having conversations with them, and they wanted funding or they wanted partnerships and all of that stuff. And you're limited in what you can do for them as an organization. When I got to EcoBank and we opened EPAC Center, which is the head office, we had like 2 conference halls. We had other spaces, rooftop, all those things. I looked around and I was like, you know what? This is a gold mine for me. Do you get the conversations I've been having in GT? Now I can actually bring them and explore here, but I might not be able to give you money. I'll give you a platform.
Yes.
Do you get? So for me, it was, I don't have money for you. But guess what? If you have an idea and that idea is a good idea, I'll give you the space to be able to execute your idea. 50 to 60% of the cost for most events or activations or conferences is the venue. So if I take off that headache from you, what it does is you've already almost like sorted out the remaining expense. Now get some other sponsors or partners or whatever.
If it's a hotel cost, you're sponsoring them with 50 million.
Yes.
A landmark is about 25 million.
25 billion.
So even if I say take a space in a prime location, it's not cash in hand, but
Exactly.
it's 5 million in value.
In value. And then another thing is, when we saw that, okay, people had the need for space, so we started creating exhibitions for them. So the exhibitions that we were organizing and exhibitions that they wanted to have.
Interesting.
Now, what that did was people started seeing EcoBank as, you know what, these guys are adding value to me.
True.
We did something with Auntie Kathy, and that was amazing. It was fantastic. She had about 100 or 150 to 200 people, but she was just amazed at the fact that we were benevolent with the use of space, supporting with promoting. Do you understand? Almost all the facilities that she needed. So what was left? Just maybe refreshments, rentals, and stuff like that. And she had a great one. She continues to sing the EcoBank story, and there's so many of them like that that we've partnered with over time. Ferdy Adams has like a podcast that he does. He uses the space. Do you get? Olushola does something that he used the conference hall. So we've done a lot with creatives that now they see that, you know what, there's an organization that brings value. See, value is not necessarily monetary. Value is, what can you give me that would help me to achieve my objective without going through the pain and the stress? Now, if creatives see that in an organization or even in a person, all right, in my case, it was EcoBank, but it was Jide helping me to ensure that EcoBank approved of this. Now, I also needed to get the buy-in of management, because if you are not able to convince them, you struggle. So that was another thing. You also need to, that's where your personality comes into, to be able to say, you know what, this is what this person wants to do. You can't fund them. You can't give them a loan. How do you want to support them? But you keep talking about how creatives are the engine for the economy. How do you support them? So for me, it was, I convinced them to say, you know what, let's be the ones to say, you know what, we would support you. We will provide the platform. We'll provide the space. Even when it comes to media support, we would also give you media support. And then we now created an EPAC studio. Now, you know what? Forget about whether you need a hall or anything. If you want a space where you want to have a podcast, you want to do a photo shoot, you want to create your own content and all of that stuff, we have a space for you that is free. You don't need to pay for it. So I think just creating that opportunity for creatives just helped them to see EcoBank in a different way. And they just continue telling the good story about EcoBank. Now, a lot of things that are being done is just almost like on autopilot.
I do hope that they sustain that because, I mean, this year I've attended about 2 events.
Yeah.
There was this other one that TT organized. It was also the art one.
Yes, there's the art one. There's Jide this year. They've done Oja Oge. They've done chess with and Tunde Onokoya came for the chess.
The chess one
that they did last year. And they're having another one. For me, I'm just happy that it was 3 years spent in EcoBank, but it was 3 years that were like significant results.
Okay, so because we have just about 3 questions to wrap, but let's talk about secret to a successful marriage. You've been married for 10 years?
Yeah, about.
Yeah. What has kept the fire?
I think I'm married so that I know that we understand each other because my wife is, and let me put it in a funny way. My wife knows how to get what she wants from me without pushing the button. So she's very quiet, she just tell you in a way, and then she'll make you see reason. And no matter how I struggle sometimes or I argue or I fight, you just come back and she won't say anything. That's it. She's dropped it. She's gone. You'll be the one struggling and fighting yourself to get things done. But I think it's just good to marry someone you understand. As someone that understands you. My wife is not the type that does open confrontation. Even when we have our issues, we sort it out in-house. But also the fact that she's calm. She's not like me. I'm the very, all out doing stuff. She's the calm one. She's soft-spoken, do what she wants to do, and she will make you understand that, see, this is what we need to do as a family. She's very big on family values and family trips and family holiday and doing things as a family. I mean, I'm not big on that, but I have to just respectfully. So I think sometimes you just have to leave your ego as a man and just play to what these women want sometimes.
So you need tremendous patience. But in terms of spirituality, you're out there and also active in church and but what is the thing about spirituality today that you think any young person out there needs to consider if they don't have it in their lives to keep them going?
I think everyone should have something that keeps them grounded, and everyone should have that connection with God, all right, that they don't joke with. And I tell people you must always have a way to separate every aspect of your life, right? There's work, there's family, but there's the spiritual aspect, and it's very important. There's the social aspect and all of that stuff, but that spiritual aspect where something keeps you grounded. I tell people I don't leave my house without reading at least even if it's one verse of scripture. For me, it's just okay. Now I can move. I can, I know that I'm kind of like guarded or secured. And I've been like that since university days, where you know that no matter what you achieve, all right, there's God behind it. And no matter what you aim to achieve, there's still God, all right, behind it. And you cannot disconnect yourself from that. It has worked for you. You've achieved a lot because of that consciousness that God is backing you. I've never gotten a job without praying about it. Never. So even when I've gotten offers, I've rejected some offers because it's just God is not speaking to me about this. But when I was going to go to EcoBank, now you see signs. Sometimes people don't understand how real these things are. I see signs before I take any job. I see signs before I even do some projects. All right. And I speak to God before I even venture into any new thing. Because once I know that I have that conviction that God is with me on this, hardly do I feel in a lot of the things that I do.
Interesting. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because spirituality is something I always feel 21st century mind when I hear that people are dealing with mental health. I don't know how you can deal with low points, down times, without first anchoring yourself on something spiritual. Yeah, absolutely. So and I think it's important for a lot of young people to think about that. But let's also talk about your why you're still here. So we've had the wave of Japa.
Yeah.
Your family is in the UK. and you could easily pick your bag and you're there. And you would never have to worry about lights. And you possibly may not deal with as much traffic, but you seem to have love for Lagos.
So it's difficult to take me out of Lagos. It's very difficult.
Yes, and I share the same thing. When people tell me, "Are Lagos exhausted?" I was like, "Lagos, our Lagos."
It's difficult.
So
difficult. Lagos is beautiful.
Okay. Final question is: if there's a book you have read that opened you in a way that you haven't thought about, what book would that be?
It's a funny one, but I'll say All Men in Lagos Are Crazy or something like that.
that book is a novel. I haven't read it.
Yeah.
But the title,
Why All Men in Lagos Crazy or something like
yes,
that.
yes,
All
yes,
Men in Lagos
All
Are
Men in
Mad.
Lagos Are Mad.
Yeah. It's just funny because you also need to realize that in the midst of all the mad people in Lagos, you want to make sure that you're not one of them. But yeah, the thing is this, I tell people that, and it's funny, people will say, are you sure? I say, you know what, I don't read, I listen. And when I tell people I do, apart from even audio books, right, I like to be in an environment where I can learn. So I'm the kind of person that I pick from what I hear, all right, and what I see. So when I read, I'm not reading the whole book. I'm reading what I want to read from it. Do you get? Simply because for me, apart from time and all of that stuff, I've learned that you have to also invest yourself where is relevant to you. So I'm not just going to read a book because it's interesting, but I'll read stuff that will build me, edify me, and make me stronger, right? And then help me in terms of building my own goals, my careers, my aspiration, and then taking me in the direction that I think I should be going to. So you see me reading books on marketing. You see me reading books on branding. You see me reading, at those days I immersed myself in it. You see me reading things on digital marketing because that's my field. I think I've done this for almost like 20 years. I need to make sure that, I tell people that I've built my career to a stage where it's difficult to ignore me, right? But I've not gotten to where I want to. So even in what you're achieving, you need to keep striving. So the books I read are centered around digital marketing, branding, and likes.
Okay. Jay, thank you for coming along. I think this has been so much fun. What I know is I want to look back and see that we have another conversation where I'll see what you've transformed or done in your time at BOI.
Yeah.
We have always seen the work you've done, even with GT. You leave your mark wherever you go. And the Lagos space and even the creative space and culture, you've embodied it, you've lived it. You created spaces where creative and artists can even start to connect with brands beyond. And I think that's something very commendable. I know that sometimes people don't get their flowers.
Thank you.
Right? But in many ways, I have seen the brands you've worked with and I've seen the changes that you've contributed with your team to make. So thank you for coming to share that story.
Thank you very much for having me here.